Hey people, Flying Soul still live from the south of Italy and welcome to the wonderful Matera. Matera is located in the south of Italy between the toe and the heel of the most beautiful boot in the world. So before I show you a little bit around, not only my face, I want to give you a brief history of the city. If you didn't know, Matera, it's one of the oldest, actually it's the third oldest human settlement in the world. And it was like the first inhabitants started to dig caves here that I will tell you about later, and 12,000 years ago. So the river who flew between the mountains created a canyon where all the rocks were exposed, and in Italian they are called sassi, which means rocks actually. And the people started to dig these caves. They created dwelling cave, and they start to live there. The point about it is that the living conditions were extremely awful till only 70 years ago, where the president that came here for I don't remember which reason and discovered the living condition of these people were so bad, like the Fourth War, that he set a law that all those people had to leave these caves and move to new houses with a better living condition. Now, if you wanted to continue living in this cave, you had to set the cave in order to have the standard living condition from that era. It was like in the 50s, in the 50s of the last century. And in only 70 years, when they started to renovate all the city, in 2019 it became the European culture capital. And if you think that in only 70 years they were able to reach this goal, well, it's quite a huge, goal that they actually reached. And now Matera, it's visited by a lot of tourists. Even now in the middle of November, there are a lot of tourists around. So now I'm not gonna bother you too much with my explanation, and I will just show you the beauty of the city. See from the other side the original caves that were digged into the rock and is still preserved in time. I'm not sure actually you can visit them, probably just on the top, because I can't see any tourists there or anybody. But anyway, probably they're renovating now to preserve it even more in time. So this is one typical house in a cave. This is how people were living. Now, of course, this was renovated and it's doing like just for tourists, but that's exactly like inside one of them. It's original, but just renovated. And this is how they lived. So you can see there were cows and donkeys. They were heating. They were used to heat the cave. And this is where they live, all together. So you can imagine how much humidity there would be here. So Matera became worldwide famous, especially after the last James Bond movie. You might have seen it because the first scene actually was shot here. And you can see, especially in this side of the city, many scenes were shot from that point, which is the National Park of Murgia. And Daniel Craig was actually living over there in a hotel while the movie was shot. It was 3 years ago. When exactly the city became the capital of culture. So now people were going down to the old cistern, water cistern, Palombaro Lungo is called, in the center, in the real center, under the main square of Matera. And there's an interesting story because even people here didn't know about this place until accidentally they discovered during the renovation of the square, they made some digs and they discovered it was this cistern here. And so now I'm going to show you this. While we're going down, you maybe know the more famous Istanbul cistern, and maybe you have visited it, but you didn't know about this. So you can see there is a rainwater. I mean, if you didn't know, what is it? Like a cistern it's built to collect the rainwater. And so this is it. And it's quite huge. And the first time actually they discovered it, they sailed it with a boat because they didn't know how big was it before building all these passages for pedestrians. Now you see a lot of coins they've thrown here for like wishes. And the rest, okay, I'm going to show you the way it is from the other side. It's pretty old. It was built in the late, in the 18th century. I might add some information later because I'm not sure exactly when it was built, but it was discovered accidentally 30 years ago. And now welcome to Alberobello. We're now in the region of Puglia, and this is a typical houses that were built here in the 17th centuries. I will show you better, closer, and I explain you why we have this typical houses called trullo. These houses were built during the 17th centuries in order to avoid taxation from the Naples kingdom that declared that if you want to build a house, you have to pay taxes, special taxes. So in order not to pay those taxes, people from this region built these houses made of only stones. It's a dry technique, and they were built only in this way. Now, of course, you can see it's not totally dry at the moment because, of course, they were renovated recently, but in the past, they were all made like this, only with stones, dry stones, one put on another, and create this typical, picturesque and wonderful houses called trulli. Those symbols that you can see on the top, on the roof of each trullo, are symbols that are made from the architect that built them. They were recently remade, of course. It went like this in the past, but still like remain the same structure. Of course, as I told you, it was an escamotage to avoid paying taxes, but of course they wanted to live here. They were stable resident of this place. And they even built a church with the same technique. So you can imagine how might be this temporary, like the rest of the houses. But you see, this one is older. So with a wonderful view of the sunset of the Alberobello Center, I salute you and see you for the next video. Bye bye.